listening to Party Time, My Golf Story with Kevin Walsh and whatever special guest he has today. You can check me out on episode 9 of the podcast. Today I'm wearing Grayson clothes while I'm out practicing because I believe in look good, play good. And follow me on Instagram, Sophia Warren Golf, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey everyone, welcome to the program. Dr. Bob Winters is back, one of my favorite guests. This is the third time he's been on Party Time, My Golf Story. We're going to get into some of what he's been working on and also some recent news on the PGA Tour. Tommy Fleetwood in the meltdown at the recent Travelers Championship. I am in the state of Connecticut, not far away from where the Travelers is played at TPC River Highlands, so I thought it'd be appropriate. Let's talk about that and apply what's been happening. I sense a pattern with Tommy Fleetwood for quite some time, but really get like an expert analysis on what's going on and see if we can learn some lessons from that in our own game. And selfishly, I'm going to try and pick Dr. Bob's brain because I had a meltdown on the golf course a couple weeks ago. Good round going, it just slipped away. So I want to talk to the confidence doctor to see if I can get some confidence back, and I'm sure maybe it'll get some confidence back into you. But before we get into Dr. Bob, big thanks to our title sponsor, Party Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course and you're tired of beer and you've had it with the hard seltzers, then try a Party. Transfusion, far and away, our number one seller. And if you don't have Party at your golf course, talk with the staff and tell them to get in touch with Paradise Craft Distributors, the exclusive distributor of Party Drinks in the state of Florida and also across all of New England. And if your dream is to live in a golf real estate community similar to Lakewood National Golf Club, where we originally broadcast from, but we're on the road in Connecticut right now, folks, it is a good time to buy. It is absolutely a buyer's market. So if you've been thinking, well, I'm going to wait for the market to soften, I'm going to wait for the right opportunity. The right opportunities are right now, especially if you're in business for a condominium, but also single family homes. And there's no better place than Lakewood National Golf Club. And there's no better golf real estate pros than Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com, a division of Fine Properties. They'll take real good care of you. All right, let's bring the good doctor on board, Dr. Bob Winters. How have you been, my man? It's great to see you.
Kevin, great to be back, on the program. How have you been?
I've been pretty good. I've had some struggles on the golf course, which I'd like to go through with you and mirror them with Tommy Fleetwood. I know you're familiar with what has happened, but for those that maybe don't know, I'll just bring everybody up to speed. Tommy Fleetwood had a pretty good lead going into the final round, and he just played a very loose and nervous 18 holes, which came down to the final hole, the 72nd hole, in which he came up short on the green. That's a tell. He came up short on his lag putt. That's a tell. And on his putt for par, he just waved at it. And to me, that just screams nerves. You tell me, Dr. Bob, are you seeing the same thing there?
I'm really not. I'm not seeing that really at all. Tommy Fleetwood just came off of a wonderful 63. He made about 160 feet of putts in round 3. Beautiful 63. The par 70 there at TPC River Highlands, totally in control of his game, but he created a 3-shot cushion, and a 3-shot cushion for me, that's not a sizable lead at all. The notion about having a lead in golf, one swing can turn, 4 or 5 shots either way, with a couple of different players. So much like the NBA basketball, you have like an 8-9 point lead, 1 minute to go. There's really nothing safe, and you really can't protect the lead. And the very best way to, really stay in the lead is to kind of let go of the lead, meaning the lead turns to lead and you're sort of, it's holding you back. So you just got to keep moving forward. So, but let me tell you this, I have been following this for the last week, been hearing a lot of talk about it, Kevin. And everybody said, well, Tommy, he choked. And I think, we really need to kind of put a kibosh on that, because it's very easy for those of us sitting in the cheap seats, watching, from the sidelines, to throw that red flag of BS and go, well, he just choked. He went out the window. But, what I saw was a player who, had a little difficulty at the front. Obviously, someone who was talking to him, some New Englanders up there, they're just rabid about their sports. Obviously, Keegan Bradley is like a hometown favorite there. He's won there, once before, a couple of years ago. Now this was his second victory in 3 years there. So he looks at the Travelers as sort of a major championship. It is really his tournament, and he's really loved there. Now that he's the U.S. Ryder Cup captain, it's almost had a Ryder Cup flair. You had, Tommy Fleetwood, who's been the darling of the European Ryder Cup team, in the same group, with Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley. So, and let's not forget the other player, Russell Henley, was in this group, a wonderful player who's had a great year here in 2025. Mm-hmm. And what I saw, Kevin, was right at the very get-go. Here it is, Keegan Bradley on the final round. He makes a very nervy but very solid 5-footer for par on the first hole. Tommy, who had, I think, about 8 or 9 footer, hits a very, very good putt, just burns the right edge. I mean, he really missed it, but he missed it well. And what I mean by that is it looked like he hit it very solid, looked like he had control of his nerves or whatever. So yes, he comes back on the second hole and he hits it about 4 or 5 feet. Knocks in a great putt. But let's not forget this. When a player is playing in a tournament and they're really trying to win their first tournament, and this is true for whoever it is at whatever level, when you're coming down the stretch and you haven't won before, and it really means a great deal to you, we have something that we call perceived value. It holds a particular personal significance or level of importance for you. And before he went out, one of the New Englanders looked at Tommy and said, "Now or never, Tommy." He goes, "This is your one. This is your one to win." So right from the very start, everyone expected, Tommy Fleetwood, okay, this is the one that really gets it done. But anyone who wins anything for the first time has to think, act, and believe that they can win something for the first time. And then you have to go through the baby steps to win a tournament. So, really what I saw at that time was that Russell Henley on the first hole makes a nice 15-footer for birdie. Keegan Bradley, makes a nice putt for par. And, Tommy just, burns his. And so even before, I think the final round, I think Butch Harmon, Tommy's, coach, was talking to him. Let's not putt defensively. Let's putt, smart, but, smart, aggressive. Let's go after it. Because let's face it, Tommy Fleetwood, if there's one little Achilles heel, it's been his ability to make putts. But he's always made a lot of crucial putts in Ryder Cup competitions, and he's won 7 times on the European Tour. He had a silver medal in the Olympics. So, he is a grizzled veteran, there's no doubt. But he really does want to win here on the PGA Tour. So what I'm saying is that everyone is on their own Broadway stage, but you have other actors. And I think on the second hole, before Tommy Fleetwood made a nice bounce back birdie on the second hole, he hit it in there very tight. It looked like he was really in control of his game. Keegan Bradley made a nice 17-foot putt there on that hole. So he's seen Russell Henley makes putts. Keegan Bradley's making putts. He's making a putt. And so he goes on to 3 and 4, and he doesn't really play those holes very well. He actually misses a couple of putts, but he's hitting good putts. Now, let's talk about the other, stars on stage. Russell Henley on the very final hole chips one in to get to 14 under. It was just a bomb from the side of the green. Crowds going hysterical. Tommy, is seeing, Keegan right up there, who has about a 6-footer, who's inside Tommy, who lagged his up a little bit. But I don't want to get in front of myself. What I'm really trying to say is you had other actors who were doing really well. You had Harris English, who was at 13, 14 under already in the clubhouse. Russell Henley chips in for 14 under. He's in the clubhouse. You've got Scotty Scheffler, who's making 4 or 5 birdies, making a lot of noise in the back. And that's the great thing about TPC River Highland. It's a great golf course. It's built for drama. A lot of those guys had short, wedges and short irons in their hand on some of those par 4s because they was just bombing the ball out there. Mm-hmm. But I just want you to understand this stat. Keegan Bradley, in this final round, he sank 168 feet of putts. Now let's talk about that. He had a 16-foot birdie on the second hole. He makes a 64-foot bomb on the 9th hole. He makes a 37-foot putt for a par on the 15th hole to keep him in it. And then he comes down the stretch and he makes a couple other putts. But during this day, he made 168 feet of putts. But this was the day that Keegan Bradley's putter was on. And I've always said, the guy who has, the hot putter coming down the stretch, that's the guy who usually wins championships. And the day before, Tommy had his hot putter, and Tommy didn't really have a hot putter. But I don't think that Tommy Fleetwood really choked. And I will expand on that a little bit and tell you exactly what I think. Because I think it's so easy to actually throw that C word out there. I mean, there's 2 words that you never really want to accuse a golfer of, Kevin. And one is a choker, and the other is a cheater. Now, a cheater, well, they never get over that. But when you label somebody a choker, well, that's a tough moniker, to actually get rid of. But, a lot of people have done it. Even Tom Watson, early in his career, I mean, the great, champion, Hall of Famer, was labeled that he couldn't close the deal on some big tournaments coming in. Nick Faldo was known as, in the British press, Nick Foldo.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, I mean.
And he clearly got over it and few closed the deal like he did once he got it all figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really when we start talking about, what defines failure, and I think Tommy Fleetwood did a great, very sportsmanship, very professional job talking to the press, talking about it. He said, listen, he goes, yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I really, this one will leave, a little scar tissue for a while. He goes, I was right there. He goes, but I did too many good things to walk away and really beat myself up about it. He goes, when the dust settles, we'll take a look at it. So when we start talking about what defines failure, sometimes failing helps us refine. So when we define failure, we refine it in making ourselves better. And so the next time he's in that position, he'll probably handle it better. And so let me kind of give you a couple of definitions here, Kevin, about really what choking is, just so that everybody understands, they're on the same page, talking apples to apples with, Dr. Bob Winters. Confidence and is everything in the game. But, you really feel like you've got everything going for you. And all of a sudden, everything slips and you just lose your confidence. You lose everything. In fact, what you really lose is you lose your sense of awareness, and you start, to over control, and you have over thoughts and a lot of the overthinking, over manipulation. And what choking really is, it is suboptimal performance, and it is deviantly, markedly different than what one would normally expect, from a player. Now, when I look at someone like Tommy Fleetwood, when people say, well, he choked, especially as he's coming down the stretch, I'm not so sure about that. He didn't get the ball up and down on 16, but I would feel that if a guy was really choking on hole 17, where he hits it out of the bunker and he hits that bunker shot onto the green at 17 to carry the water, he's now got about a 30-foot putt. Now he steps up to hit that 30-foot putt. Now that putt, he hits a little bit aggressively. Did he hit it aggressively, or was that, the arousal? That was the adrenaline kicking in. And he sent that about 6-7 feet by the hole. So he had to have that comebacker. And I felt if he was going to go out the window, he would have missed that putt on 17. But no, he knocks that thing right into, the center of the hole. Now, as they go to the 18th tee, Keegan Bradley steps up there and nails one right down the center of the fairway. Now it's up, to Tommy Fleetwood. He has a one-shot advantage stepping up on that tee. He takes the driver and rips it right down the left middle. No signs, of deterioration of performance there. But this is really where it gets interesting. And this is where a lot of, I think, mental coaches and other people will start to split hairs with me, because really, what is choking? So Tommy Fleetwood and his caddy were taking quite a bit of time on that shot. And I can't remember how far he had in. Maybe it's 135, 138 yards. Maybe it's 140 yards. He was going to go from a 9-iron to a pitching wedge. And, Tommy has sort of this abbreviated, through swing. And he could hit it, out there pretty far for his size. There's no doubt. And so they were kind of worried about, the wind. Now, what happens a lot of times when people choke is that when they really choke, and this is just another form of choking, there's high arousal, high activation, high energy, and there's a tendency to want to over control and over manipulate.
Yes.
And if there was any type of what I would consider, if this could be labeled that Tommy, needed to kind of work on, it was this, because I think they overthought that shot. And we usually talk about overthinking as kind of paralysis by analysis. And you're almost trying, so hard to make something right. And I think he takes the pitching wedge and he actually hits it. And I really believe he made, the right choice, at that time. But he was, committed to that shot. He stepped up, and I could see that ball, from the flight patterns, from the different camera angles. That wind hit that ball and it knocked it down. Now, we could always play the armchair quarterback, hindsight's 2020, and go, wow, he should have actually hit that 9-iron to the center of the green. But I think he was really thinking that he was going to be a little pumped up with the adrenaline, and that adrenaline would actually get that ball right there. So he misses that shot. Now, Keegan Bradley hits a fantastic shot. I mean, the crowd just erupts. I can't remember the last time, crowds were that loud. I mean, maybe it was, Tiger winning at Eastlake many years ago. It was just his hometown crowd, and the crowds going Keegan, USA, USA. And it really did have sort of a Ryder Cup, atmosphere there. And so now Tommy Fleetwood, I think, is sitting up over that putt. And I'm sure it's like about a 50-foot putt and has to kind of go up over that ridge to the hole. And he just remembers that, I think sometime you go back in your memory bank, he said, the last putt I hit pretty hard. I hit it kind of by the hole. So when he stepped up there and hit that ball looked like it went up there and, kind of slowed down right at the hole. And I think I think Jim Nantz said, well, he hit that pretty quick. I don't know if he hit it quick, but maybe, who knows? But all day long in his putts, I felt like he hit, a lot of putts very solid, if not a little bit long, many of them. This one he came up short on. And lo and behold, he's right there, right next, to Keegan's ball. He's just outside maybe a foot. Keegan Bradley's going to be able to get a good read on this. Now, I've seen this, putt over and over, and I think, Rich Lerner and Brandel Chambly even talked about it. If we take a look at Tommy Fleetwood's putt, when he stroked that putt, I think he hit a very good putt, but we do notice that the ball, like about a foot, 2 foot from the hole, deviates and slides off to the right. It just didn't really hug the ground all the way. I think it hit maybe a little pebble, an imperfection in the grass, and slid to the right. Even when Keegan Bradley went, he said, well, I thought his putt moved a lot more than maybe I thought it was, but I stuck with my original decision. Keegan Bradley hit, to the left side of the hole, and the ball finally slides, to the middle of the hole. So for me, people can say he 3-putted, he choked or whatever. I don't know. I thought he hit some pretty good shots. I wouldn't, be throwing the flag of, he choked. I thought he hit some, amazing shots coming down the stretch. If he went El Foldo, I'm trying to think, where would that happen? And if it did happen, it might have been because he just made maybe a decision error, maybe hitting the wrong club or overthinking it in the fairway. But, the putts and everything, sometimes you just say it's not your day. But I think he shoots 72. He shoots 2 over par. I mean, obviously, that's not really the round that Tommy Fleetwood you would like to have. I don't think he was hitting his driver early as well as he wanted to. Got off to a little bit of a shaky start. But I mean, he bounced back and he actually hit a lot of good shots, give himself a lot of good looks. But, to me, the one thing, Kevin, and you play and you caddy and you do all these different things, and have played the game my whole life. One of the things that I think is what Tommy Fleetwood said. He goes, I haven't been in this position for a while, really, just not being in coming down the stretch, being the final group, being in contention. So a lot of times people go, well, you choked. I don't know if it's really choking. I think many times it's just being unfamiliar with this situation in this context. And sometimes it's just you're in unfamiliar ground. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to handle something. And so sometimes this is being a little uncomfortable. And we always say in my world, you have to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And we know one of the ways to actually get rid of what we call sort of choking or dealing with performance pressure is to put yourself in those situations in practice or preparation situations that mirror or simulate those conditions. Now, all I'm saying here, and you can agree and disagree with me, we will have this great discussion, and I know I've been going on for a long time about it. But if you think about it, I mean, Keegan Bradley makes 168 feet of putts. He's got, the crowd of Connecticut there, just rooting for him. I mean, it's just deafening. You've got Russell Henley over here is chipping the ball in on you. He's making birdies. And you can look at that leaderboard. And that leaderboard, everybody was right there at 12, 13, 14, coming up and coming down. And I really felt like Tommy, Fleetwood really stayed in his lane pretty well. And so if I had the chance to talk with him, I'd say, hey, you know what? I don't think, you really lost that. I think, it was right there. I said, you didn't win it. I said, but I don't think you really lost it either. And the one thing, I think Keegan Bradley came through. He did exactly what he wanted to do. And let me just give a word of congratulations to Keegan Bradley. Here's a guy who has a lot of heart. I mean, his heart's probably just about as big as his body. And this guy, he wants to play. And he's got a lot of grit, has a lot of emotion. And I think a lot of people, he took a little bit of heat for some of his words that were sort of filled with this emotional carryover when he was overlooked for the Ryder Cup a couple of years ago. And so now he's the Ryder Cup captain. And he was saying, how, I'm the best and I always have been. And I think it was really just sort of like it was sweet revenge. And I can't remember what the saying is, revenge is very best served up. Revenge is sweetest when it's served up cold. I mean, he's been waiting a long time, to actually come back and give it one of those. So kudos to him. But to just sit there and throw that red flag, that big C flag, for Tommy Fleetwood. I always tell people, like, boom, here's the truth bomb. Okay, boom, and I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was so much that, but when we take a look at these situations, boy, I tell you what, this tournament, golf is just great theater. And the funny thing about it is there's nowhere to hide. And that's why, psychologically, emotionally, and even physically, you see someone who really isn't, getting it all together. And that's kind of really what I just see with Tommy. It was right there. Yes. And victory was snatched out of his fingertips and he had it right there. But what he will learn from this, and going forward, he will have been there. Now, he's won and been in the top 5, top 10 more times than anybody in the last 40 years.
Yes. And he goes low more than anybody. And he does it at interesting times. It wasn't a catastrophic meltdown, but like a 72, usually on Sunday.
That's right.
The PGA Tour isn't going to get it done. And he's still a PGA Tour win escapes him despite his success around the globe. Do you think he wants it too much or he doesn't want it enough? Because if we can use the example of Keegan, there's no doubt Keegan just seems to want it more than anybody and is a pit bull about it.
Well, I think, because of the Ryder Cup and because, he was spurned a couple of years ago, that creates, great anger, resentment, and that's all energy. I mean, he's focused now. He wants to prove to people, hey, I'm the real deal. And it's kind of an interesting dilemma now because here he is. I think he's in the top 7, as far as Ryder Cup points, or top 8. I don't know really what he is. And a lot of people think, well, maybe he should play, maybe he should sit down. I mean, the Ryder Cup has become this unbelievable, just, cavalcade, a cornucopia of distractions. And I don't know how it would actually be, for him, to be playing and be a captain. But I tell you what, it's an interesting, predicament. I don't think we've been in this situation since, the great Arnold Palmer, when he did that, when he was a playing captain. But by golly, more power to him. If he wants to do it, then he can do it. I think he's one of those guys that can really rally the people. Plus, being in New York State, being up there in New England. Yeah, I think, he's going to have a lot of supporters up there. I think it's going to be, very vocal. What do you think?
Gosh. Oh, at Bethpage? Are you kidding me? Where his alma mater, St. John's, played.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be brutal, but in a good, good entertaining way. One of the things you brought about the discussion, Tommy Fleetwood and his caddy on the 18th hole. And I wanted to talk to you about caddies and not so much pile on a player because of his caddy and the interaction between the two. Is what's going on with Colin Morikawa. He had a new caddy, replaced his caddy, and his new caddy lasts only a month. What do you think, is having worked with many tour players, what do tour players want out of their caddy? What's just enough and not too much? You've probably been involved in some of those discussions more than I have.
Well, being on the inside, what was it, years ago? I can't remember if it was David Duval said, what do caddies need to do? They need to, put up, keep up, and then just shut up. And that was,
it's more than David Duval has said that. I mean,
he was one. Yeah, one. That's been going back for years. Yeah,
right.
I just remember David, saying that, and I think David was saying that in jest. And I've known David for a long time, and what a wonderful person he is. But when we start talking about the caddy, if you think about the professional caddy, and not just talking about the caddies you have at your club or whatever, but the professional caddies are sort of like the second self out there. I mean, most of these tour players, men and women, probably are spending more time with their caddy than they are with their significant other, wives, spouses, husbands, or whatever. So, I mean, there's a really deep relationship. There's a lot of time that, those caddies spend, with the player. And so when you have Colin Morikawa, he had been with JJ Jakovac for many, many years. And then he actually replaced JJ with Joe Greiner. And I think Joe Greiner was on the bag for Justin Thomas when Justin Thomas won at Hilton Head earlier this year. And he was sort of a stand-in for Justin. Both of these, JJ and Joe, fantastic caddies, unbelievable caddies. Now, I don't know, Colin, very well. He works with a great colleague and great friend of mine, Dr. Rick Sessinghaus, who's been his swing coach for years, ever since he grew up, and his mental coach. And I haven't talked, to Dr. Rick about any of this. But, when I listen to Colin talk, to the press and give his viewpoints of it, he said, hey, I just, maybe need just like a fresh picture. Some things, work out, some things don't. And that's really what you really want to have with a great player caddy relationship. You want to have a meld. You really want to have, two minds that really are sort of going after the same things. But we have to remember, who's the star here? Who's the performer? It's the player. And many times when things aren't really going well for a player, one of the first things that happens is that, we're going to be looking for someone different. And it's not that we're actually saying that this person's bad. They're just looking for something new, something novel, maybe something different. And I think, Colin, to his credit, said it best. He said, listen, he goes, when you've got, a player who's really good and a caddy who's really, really good, two really good entities here, they don't necessarily make, the very best team. And that's why you have to have, somebody that you can really mesh with, you can integrate yourself with, and that you both understand really what, the player needs. And I think that's really what a caddy is. He is the ultimate support system. He is the cheerleader. He is the mental coach. He is the rudder for this ship that, that goes this way. And I have said for years that Michael Greller, with Jordan Spieth, has been the rudder of that ship. And, we've seen, Jordan Spieth, throw Michael Greller under the bus a couple of times on national TV at Pebble Beach.
And he takes it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I think, Michael Greller, who understands, the personality of, professional golfers, because he was an elementary school teacher there for many years, is that, players have tantrums just like little kids, they want to blame others or whatever. But so many times, I want to, give, the players here, all sorts of players, amateurs, juniors, college players. We have a couple of strategies. We have what we call ego defensive strategies, ego defense. And then we have ego enhancing strategies. And I remember watching the great Herman Mitchell, who was Lee Trevino's caddy. And Herman was, really a big caddy. He must have been 350 pounds carrying Lee Buck Trevino's bag. Oh, yeah. But Lee Trevino would come up to a shot and he'd look down. It would be a really bad shot. I mean, a really bad lie. And he'd be sitting there looking at Herman. He goes, I don't know, Herman. He goes, I'll tell you what, look at this lie. He goes, nobody can hit this. Nobody can hit this. He goes, maybe I can. And Herman would look at him, give him sort of this ego enhancing behavior. He goes, boss, you can hit this. You got this. Nobody in the world can hit this like you, boss. And Lee would sit there and go, that's right. That's right. Boom. And he would actually hit that shot, and Lee would look back and go, that's right, Herman, you're absolutely right. We knew we could hit this shot, so that's that caddy
give them
player
what they
relationship.
Want. Yeah,
no, absolutely. But you've got to give them. So you've got to be able to give your player confidence and give everybody else fits, and that's the whole point. That's really what great, partnering, great caddying is all about. But at the other time, when Lee Trevino would say, God, I just can't hit that shot. And I remember hearing Herman say this many times. He goes, boss, that was an impossible shot. You just did the best. You made lemonade out of lemons there, boss. You made lemonades out of lemon. I could always hear that. But you see, that's what you really want. In fact, that's what I would want, with one of my, caddies, because a lot of people, they say, well, the caddy's got to do this, caddy's got to do that. Really, in the final analysis, it's up to the player. It's up to the player. You're the one that's swinging the club, and you have to take sole responsibility for that. I've always said, if it is to be, it has to begin and end with me. A caddy's only going to supplement and help my decision so much. But in the end, it has to be the player. And you really have to take full responsibility for that. But, if you're talking about Tommy Fleetwood and his caddy out there, they're really just trying to make a clear decision, get as clear as they possibly can, be decisive, and then say, here we go. Now, who's to say that, Tommy his mind was in the right place, his emotions were in the right place. Maybe he just a fraction, hit it maybe just a fraction heavy, or sclaffed it a little bit. Maybe he just made a physical error. But everybody in the world is going to look at that and go, yeah, he choked. He just didn't hit it that well. I don't know. I don't know if that's a choke or not, because I saw him hit too many great shots coming down the stretch.
He played, but the trouble is we remember best what happened last.
Oh, sure we do. I mean, that's the whole point about, the omega stroke, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's really what putting is. I mean, what do we remember? We remember Tommy Fleetwood pushing a putt, or the putt, just, bounced off something. And we remember Keegan making the putt. But that's really what championships are. That's why we play this unbelievable game. It'll drive us crazy. And for a caddy to be here watching this, I mean, he's here, he's involved. I mean, he really is. He is really committed to his player. But it's sort of like, I think, the old story was, it's the pig and the chicken. All right. Talking about, making breakfast, for Sunday morning. The chicken gave the eggs. All right. But the pig, he was totally committed, right? I mean, the chicken was involved. The pig was committed. All right. And he gave the bacon. So, Porky is not around with us anymore because, he was totally committed. And that's what you have to be, in order to win, golf tournaments. You have to be all in all the time. And that's why we talk about, playing one shot as well as you can and just doing the very best you can. And the truth bomb, boom, that I want to give, to the viewers and listeners is that winning wins you many times. Meaning is that if you just stay in your lane and just keep moving forward, AKA Keegan Bradley, sometimes winning wins you. And make no doubt about it, he was after it. And I think a lot of people who were right there in that final group or next to final group, the chasers, they feel like they can actually be, much more aggressive than the player who sits on the lead all night. And that's what Tommy Fleetwood, I mean, he led that tournament or shared it all 71 holes. So it was,
he had a lot of stress over a long amount of time.
And there are a lot of expectations there for him, Kevin, for sure.
Right. And everybody expects him to win at some point or to whether self-destruct or let it slip away like it happened here, because he just seems like too good of a player based on his wins in Europe, his Ryder Cup record, his low rounds. I mean, when I think of the guys that go low more than anybody, I think of him and Justin Thomas. Yeah. Right. They just seem, they have more 62s and 63s in them than anybody else. And so I hope it works out for him. He's a nice guy, clearly has great hair. And but it's hard to see people when it just doesn't work out, because it just seemed like that one bothered him a little bit more than even the Olympics and some other mistakes.
Well, I mean, I think when you get your chance to win, and I, listened to Smiley Kaufman talk about it, and Smiley said it, and I think quite eloquently. He said, "Hey, it's just tough to win out there," and I think what most people don't realize at this junior level, these junior golfers are becoming really, really strong, shooting 62, 63, 64. I mean, they're becoming veterans by the time they're 16 years of age, going into college, and then we have the developmental tours or whatever. To really get to be elite, I mean, elite at whatever level, you're the best of the best. The difference between being really good and being pretty average, I mean, we're talking just very, very small. And really what, that difference is, it's the ability to use this, most effectively and to keep your cool, keep your composure and not, really just get out of your lane. And so when you hear players talking about winning championships, Kevin, they say the same stuff week after week, in whatever tour, man, woman, boy, or girl. What do they usually say? The cliches, and the cliches are the golden nuggets. I played my game. I didn't, worry about score. I played one shot at a time. I played within myself. I played smart. And I didn't care about anybody else. I mean, those are always the golden keys. But when people watch, TV or they watch other players and they hear those things, what they hear is, play your game, yada, 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 one shot at a time, yada, yada, yada. It's 99% of the people who play this game are yada, yada people. They don't understand that the cliches that these people are saying, we're trying to keep it as simple as we can. The game is so tough. So the simpler we keep it and simpler the process, what happens is that we do that. And if we just keep going one after one and just keep moving forward, even if we make bogeys, all right, big deal. But we just keep moving one after one after one. Pretty soon, what we have accumulated is a pretty nice little pile of successful shots. And by doing that, the winning and all the low scores come to us versus us being like a cat trying to chase its tail, going around and trying to chase a score.
Sure. Being a predator, sometimes letting it come to you. Dr. Bob Winters is our guest here on Part T Time, My Golf Story, sports psychologist, also known as the Confidence Doctor. Dr. Bob, I wanted to get into your putting program and just how successful that's been. If you don't mind, you mentioned it earlier in the interview, sure. And I had an incident where I had a nice round going, and I basically threw up on myself the last 2 holes. Okay. I don't think I'm over it yet. I'm getting over it. I'm probably mostly over it. Okay. But you used a term, and Michael Bradley told me the same thing. Michael played the PGA Tour for 23 years, won 4 times, and he said you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then you just said that. Sure. And those words were in my head when I was on the final 2 holes. I'm like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable because I knew I had a good round going, and I'm like trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but I'm kind of uncomfortable here. You know what I mean? Can you help me?
Yeah, I can. Just give me 1 second here. Hold on.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to do this here for you, but what happens, like a player like yourself, you're coming down and you're doing a great job of doing this, of really being in what we call the flow, being in this moment. Because that's really what the flow, the zone is all about, is being totally immersed, task focused, target aware, just playing this one shot as well as you can. Now, by virtue of doing that, when you get to be about the 16th, 17th hole, someone may come up to you and say, hey, Kevin, you're playing great. Or you take a look at the scorecard. And what happens, we start to go from here and we start going, and then what happens, we start taking a look at the score, and then we become scoreboard conscious. Okay.
Yeah,
we get ahead of it.
You were so prepared for this. I
kind of thought you might need it. Yeah. Yeah. So you get scoreboard conscious if you see this.
Yes.
So
I was.
And they get lost, and they start thinking, wow, see, if I can make just a couple of pars or make a birdie, I can shoot 68, 69. And lo and behold, what they've done, they've gotten out of this and they've replaced it with this. And this is the culprit right here. And that's why so many people, they get ahead of themselves. What a person should realize, and what I want you to realize, and this is for you, is that when you are having a great round, okay, what are we expecting? See, the expectations of score, results, outcomes, shooting my best score, lowering my handicap, whatever, this is the negative interference. You need to let go of that. What has been working all day is this. This should be confirmation. You got to sit there and go, yes, hold on. What I've been doing all day is working. Why would I change? I felt
like I didn't change that much. Yes, I was score conscious, and I always was. And I kind of start, like, I could feel the nerves increasing, but like the routine didn't change. Basically, the quality of the shots was good. So it was all pretty solid through 16. Right. And so I was just like, okay, I feel the nerves again, but that's kind of a nice little high too. You know what I mean? Right. If you enjoy that. And I didn't feel like my routine really changed that much. And it's not like I just got on the 17th tee and said, oh shit.
Right.
It didn't feel that different, but the results were different. Am I making sense here?
Oh, absolutely. And, so we always tell players now, I think one of the more common things I've always told people is that, pressure truly is a privilege. And people go, what the hell do you mean by that? The reason we say that pressure is a privilege, pressure means that something of value here is happening. Something you're doing, something you want is within your grasp. That's why you're feeling the pressure. So we want to embrace the pressure. I mean, I talk, for years, decades now to players, and they go, man, I just can't wait, to get into that position again so I can just feel like I want to throw up. And what that means is that they've done something. They have put themselves into contention to actually feel those nerves, to feel that humanness. So when we talk about, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, we're saying embrace, that pressure, because all of us have what we call a perceived value. Now, if we go back and look at these definitions, pressure, defined by Baumeister way back in 84, wonderful researcher. He said that pressure is a factor or any combination of factors that increases the importance of you wanting to perform well. Okay. Now, performance pressure it's this anxious desire to perform well in this athletic situation, and based on the self-imposed importance of the event. So when something has this high value, it means I really want it. And what we have to be able to understand is, okay, I want this. Will it happen? What I have to be able to do is remove all of the wantism, remove all of the what ifs, and ask myself, okay, what is going on right now? What do I have to do right now? And I think, a lot of, great performance instructors, I can't remember, the dance instructor used to tell his dancers, his choreographers, he goes, hey, don't think, just do. And so many times we get, too overloaded with too much trying, too much wanting. I have to do this. So we've got to cut out all the what if, what could happen, and ask ourselves, what is going on here? What is it that I need to do? And most of the time when we're coming down the stretch, we don't have to do anything different. We just have to do exactly what we've been doing all day long. Now, for example, if I asked you, Kevin, what's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite flavor that you could eat all day long?
Strawberry.
So that's a great, flavor. So all day long, if this was, a strawberry cone, you're going one lick, strawberry all day. And you're coming up to the 16th hole and somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, Kevin Walsh, you're playing fantastic. Keep it going, pal. Do you realize you par in, you're going to shoot, the course record. And you're sitting here, with this strawberry. Now, the mental error, and I work with all of my golfers, I don't care who they are, we talk about this analogy. And what's your favorite flavor? Yours is strawberry. And so your whole, focus should be on keeping it strawberry. But as human beings, we want to help it a little bit. We want to over control. We want to try and bring it home. So we change flavors. Now we've got rocky road. Okay. And that's the road that we take.
Which is actually pretty good too.
Yeah, that's pretty good. But it comes
golf. I'm with you.
But it becomes pretty chunky. So for me, it's always about the KISS philosophy. KISS. It doesn't mean keep it simple, stupid, because I don't think golfers are stupid. But I always want to say keep it simple and specific. But in this, manner, what I would say to Kevin Walsh is KISS. Keep it the same scoop. Keep it simple. Keep it strawberry all day long. Strawberry. It's been working all day. Then when you get in that situation, it may be uncomfortable, but at least you have this. This is strawberry. This is my process. This is what I'm going to trust. And if I can trust this, this is my security blanket, and I'm going to bring it home that way. And the more times that you do that, Kevin, you become more comfortable with being uncomfortable, and the uncomfortableness now becomes composure. And I've done it before, no worries.
That's how I felt. That's how I felt when I worked on TV and used to anchor newscasts. When I was a younger news anchor, I was very nervous. And then I got to the point where I made an ass out of myself on TV and made so many mistakes so many times, but with a good heart that I got to just like, what's one more time? It just doesn't matter because I could handle it. And I knew viewers didn't care. But I care too much about golf. And I'm just going to put a period at the end of like my golf tragedy, not tragedy. It's just, I'm just disappointed. I didn't feel all that different. I didn't feel like I was getting fast or slowing down or overthinking. And in the end, I thought about it a lot and maybe just golf happened. It just golf. Well,
I think that's exactly what happened to Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, I think he did all the right things, and I think golf happens like that. I mean, people go, he really went out the window. I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. I mean, I saw him hit some great shots coming down the stretch, make some big putts when he needed to make some putts. Obviously, he missed, the ones that really counted at the end. But that's what everybody, wants to remember. Oh, he really went out the door. But no one, you've got to be thinking about this context. Here he was, one shot lead. He's following Keegan Bradley, knocked that, thing straight down the middle. And he steps right up there and booms his own right down the middle. If there was anything going out the window, that would have happened at that time, or earlier on
itself.
or earlier on 17. So I happen to believe he just mishit a shot, maybe took the wrong club, maybe overthought it. But as far as having this serious deterioration in performance from what one would normally expect from a Tommy Fleetwood, I didn't really see that, all that much. Yes, it's disappointing because everybody really likes Tommy Fleetwood. Very popular, has a lot of charisma. Has a lot of has a very popular fan base, and I like him very, very much. But I also like Keegan Bradley, and Keegan is right there playing, hometown hero, and he loves the place, and you can see that. And so
I would take Keegan to a fight. I mean, if you had to go to a fight, like, would Keegan be on your short list?
Well, if you remember a few years ago, with the mechanic, Miguel Jimenez. And he was talking, and he said, hey, listen, don't talk to him. You talk to me. Don't talk to him. So Keegan became very confrontational with the mechanic. And so he's not afraid, to throw down the gauntlet or whatever. So it must be that St. John's mentality. I'm not sure. It could be.
It's a New England thing too. It's a New York thing, and then it's all going to Bethpage.
It's true.
There might be some fights in the crowd for that. I mean,
there might be, but I tell you what, but also I want to kind of talk about that coming into Bethpage with the European team. We always talk about these teams that come into a very hostile arena. Like football teams, basketball teams, hockey teams coming into a very hostile arena, how that sort of elevates their performance as well. Yes. So I think, that's what this Ryder Cup will be. It'll be very intense, very anticipated. But really, when it really gets right down to it, what we want to have is not a lot of choking. We want to see a lot of clutch performance. And clutch performance means it's a high pressure situation. And the really talented players, they come through. Keegan Bradley hit a clutch shot there in 18. I mean, his back was to the wall, all right? But he also saw that Tommy Fleetwood had sort of short of the green. So he had an opening, and he stepped up, and he took advantage of that opportunity. But I think, that shot was about 2 years in the making for me, Kevin. And I think he wanted that shot more than probably he wanted anything in his life. Really, that's my take on all of this.
I love the chip on his shoulder. I just think it's fantastic. Dr. Bob Winters is our guest here on Part T Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by the Golf Real Estate Pros of Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from SuncoastDreams.com. It is a good time to buy, especially if you're looking in the greater Sarasota area and Lakewood National Golf Club. Buyer's market. So keep that in mind, and nobody better than Vince and Gene from SuncoastDreams.com, a division of fine properties to help you out. And a big thanks to Part D Drinks, the title sponsor. If you're looking for a drink alternative on the golf course, try a Part T. Dr. Bob, talk to me about putting. I mean, a better putting performance probably would have helped me. It might have helped Tommy Fleetwood down the stretch, but we're always looking for that because it is half the game after all. Help us out with that, please.
Well, the one thing that players can do, they can go to my website, theconfidencedoctor.com. And there I have a video program. It's 10 different videos. I talk about the 10 mental keys to great putting. And on these videos, I take you, hand carry you to a simple philosophy about, really, here's the rule. Here's rule number one. And rule number one, I will give this to you right now, is that every putt can be made. That's really what I found out in 40 years of putting research, is that the great putters talk about making putts, seeing putts go in, practicing to make putts. And I don't care if it's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, But every great putter I've actually had the chance to work with, and I've worked with the best of the best. And I've also worked with the worst of the worst. So I've seen it, on both sides of the continuum, is that great putters, they step up and they believe they can make every putt. Now, that doesn't mean they're going gunning for every putt, but they also are under the philosophy that every putt they step into, they believe they can make it. Which goes along with rule number 2, is that every putt deserves to be made. Meaning that same positive, purpose, that intention. This is what I want to do, whether it's 5 inch, 5 feet, or 50 feet. This putt deserves, my full intention, and I'm going to really make it. And then rule number 3, and I won't go through all of them. I'll give you a few, but a putt is a putt is a putt. So many times we get over a putt, an 8-foot putt, and we go, wow, I've got to make this for birdie. Well, the point of it is the golf ball doesn't know what it is. But you do. And what you have to realize is that it's an 8-foot putt that can be made, that deserves to be made. So let's quit worrying about the label or what it could stand for. Let's be in the moment. This is what it is. Let's roll it on our ball rule line at the right speed, and let's, knock it in the hole. So those are just a few, the different videos I talk about. But I give you a great 10 mental keys, for putting great. And it's a great video series. I've had a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds of people have actually purchased it, and they like it. They love it. It's changed their whole putting philosophy, because I happen to believe that putting is 100 times more based on attitude than it is on aptitude. I really do. I think I've seen great putters have strokes like this, and jerk strokes. I've seen all sorts of types. You have too, Kevin. But it always seems that the people who make putts, you ask them, are you a good putter? And they'll go, no, I'm a great putter. And by golly, and they believe it, and they do.
Oh, the great putters, they know they are. It's like cool people. Like, we know who's cool. And if you ask them, do you think they're cool? They're going to say, nah, everybody knows who's cool. And it's the same with putters, right?
Well, I think, what is the greatest compliment you can get when you walk off of a golf course is when other players in your group look at you and go, wow, man, you're a hell of a putter. You're a great player, but boy, every time you drew that putter back, it looked like that ball was going in. That is truly the number one recommendation that I would say. What is it that people say about a good putter? That every time they draw that putter back, it looks like that ball's going into the hole. I mean, they said the same thing to Ben Crenshaw for years, to Faxon for years, to Dave Stockton, to Brian Gay, to, the list goes on. Nancy Lopez, NB Park. Oh, my goodness gracious. All the girls will be watching NB and they're going, yeah, she's got a 20-footer. She'll probably make it. Next thing you know, lo and behold, she makes it. And so it's really funny when everybody else is looking and go, wow, what does she have? What does he have? And really what it is, it's just this unbelievable, unshakable belief. But it first has to start, with this philosophy that you say, hey, I can make this putt and I'm a good putter. And the moment you start telling yourself that, and that's sort of my trademark, the moment you change your mind, you change your game. Because the moment you change your mind, the things you think about start to change as well. So the moment you start talking good thoughts, start saying good things about your putting, that's when the putting starts to really go up. And that's when you start to make a little bit more money, from your friends.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like a young Jordan Spieth you're talking about. That's what he really needs to come back, is that putting, where like the 20-footers, like you mentioned, NB Park, it was like, boy, if they weren't going in, and they were going in a lot, they were threatening the whole time. That's the goal.
The concept that I use of all my players is that, okay, if you're going to, miss a putt, then by golly, let's miss it while trying to make it. But if you miss it, I want you to come away and pull something positive out of it and go, you know what? I missed that well. And you never really hear people talking about that. You go, man, you missed that so well. People look at you and go, man, this guy's kind of crazy. This guy's been having too many Happy Meals at McDonald's, right? And the point of it is that when you really understand that everything you're trying to do is get that ball into the hole. You're trying to have, that dropsy, that little white pellets going right into that hole. And when you have that feeling, and before you even step up into it, I mean, talking with Jack Nicklaus, he said, I never missed a putt in my mind. I never missed a putt in my pre-putt routine. And every putt I stepped into, I believed it was going in. And some of them, we have deja vu. You just know it's going in. And the difference between great putters and poor putters is that great putters do many times have a sense of deja vu. Poor putters have what we call deja poo. Oh God, I've seen this shit before, right? So, I see a lot of missing. So that's the difference between the really good players, the good putters, and the poor putters. But if people go to my website and check that video series out, I think they will really like it. Plus, I've got several books out there on Amazon.com. The Mental Art of Putting is a really big one. The 10 Commandments of Mind Power Golf and Mistake-Free Golf, that I've written. All of these books talk about, all of these things we've been talking about, all program.
And they've been scrolling across the bottom throughout much of our conversation too. So,
good.
Dr. Bob, I hope you have a good 4th of July. We're recording just, I'm going to timestamp it. It's Wednesday, July 2nd. So some of those got some fireworks.
Some of those,
stuff.
There we go. Yeah. So it's great. Well, I hope, you have a great 4th of July. I hope everybody enjoys, the program, enjoys some of our insights. And I got to tell you, how can you not enjoy, the 4th of July? We live in the greatest country in the world, and we're all playing golf and we're having a good time. And I'm here with Kevin Walsh, my good friend. And thank you so much for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to be with you, pal.
Come on, you always deliver the goods. That's why I keep asking you to come back, and I know our viewers and listeners love you. So happy 4th to you, and we're going to bring you back for round 4 if that's cool with you. Sound good, Dr. Bob?
Sounds great. Listen, it's always great to be with you, Kevin. All right, good thoughts, everybody.
All right, thanks. Big thanks, Ph.D. Drinks. If you're looking for a drink alternative, try Ph.D. and the Golf Real Estate Pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro, SuncoastStreams.com, a division of Fine Properties in Greater Sarasota area. For Dr. Bob Winters, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time. Ph.D. time, my golf story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Ph.D. Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the Golf Real Estate Pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoaststreams.com or call 941-220-4000.